Greetings. I am Dr. Noni Davis from St. C Academy, and I'm a legacy owner of this academy from my parents, who I co founded the school with, my late father, William Edward Davis, and my mother, Sylvia Davis. And today I wanted to go over, I'm going to bring my screen up a little bit here. I wanted to share some of the topics that my students will be covering this at the end of the month, called our Africa Diaspora Day. And so this celebration is elevation of our ancestors and some of those a couple of people are still on the planet, but also to ensure that our students are grounded in the idea of who we are and how we are connected both here in the Caribbean, to the homeland, and even for folks who are in diaspora who live in Europe. We're going to be covering this month, this is our outline. And so our topics are Black inventors and revolutionaries, architects, historically Black colleges and universities, and artists that are located throughout the diaspora. And so that we'll see the connections that we have with each other. Um, we also want our children, no, well, we chose October because this is also a season of elevation of ancestors. We have the Day of the Dead that is practiced by indigenous people, particularly those who live in Latino countries or Spanish speaking countries. We also have All Saints Day, and some of it may be because of they practice All Saints Day and the Day of the Dead, which are also like November 1st and November 2nd which is still in that same place, that same space of Halloween. And then we also this is also according to the National Geological Society, October is a month where people are encouraged to uh, to share stories within their families and within their households about um, uh, just stories about their family members, and to keep that knowledge of the ancestors and passed on from one generation to the next. And so this is that time of the year where we elevate these people who were, some of them are here on the planet, some are still here on the planet, but we want to show this continuum from the continent to, like I said, the Caribbean to the States. And so the categories this year, like I said, are African technology, and inventors, revolutionaries, architects, HBCUs, and artists. Um, of these five character categories, I'm just going to try to cover at least two of them, and maybe I'll share the rest of them next week. And the children have to submit pictures. They have to do research. And this year, we're going to use AI to help them generate videos that will be put together. And so 15-minute segments of those five categories. And so parents will see live streaming. Not, well, I guess we could live stream, but it will be uh, the original uh, video storytelling that each group will have to do, and they're going to decide whether they want it to be like going back in time and coming forward, or um, just PowerPoint of the different things that these people did. But it is their idea, and I want them to be very creative with it. And it's also an opportunity for us to understand how we need to be mastering this AI, putting our information into that system, um, because that's all AI is. It's just regurgitating what is already heard. And as much as we can, we need to make sure our information is in there for future generations. And so, with the Africans in technology, it opens with how a topic that I spoke with at an earlier time with simple machines, and how Africans were used a wheel, used a screw, used fulcrums, used what is it, hammers and levers and things like that. All of those simple machines in their day to day life, and covered that. And so, but then we move from there. And then we go into like inventors. Lewis Latimer. Many people know that he was just he invented. He made the light bulb possible because he created the filament there and inside of it. And then he also was responsible for creating street lights. I think the first place he went was in Scotland. Then you have Marie Van Britten Brown, who created the first home security system. We have Patricia Bath, who created, she discovered a way to remove cataracts from the eyes, and it was called a laser phaco probe to treat cataracts. You have Philip, um, what's his name, Imiguali, who invented the internet and the world's. I'm trying to find. I got these pictures of these folks. Where is it? So here's Lewis Latimer, and then let's see. Nope, nope, wrong way. And then that's Marie Van Britten Brown, and I've done work about her, and I think I've done Philip and McGually as well, and he's the one who invented internet. And what is it? He did it. Not only the internet. What else did he do? Uh, the world's fastest computer. And then this is Patricia Bath, who invented the cataract laser surgery to um, probe. And then we have oh, this guy is amazing. His name is Maxwell Chikumbutso, and I've done something with him as well. And he created a TV that did not require electricity, but was operating off of electromagnetic waves. And he also has created a what is it, a vehicles and something else. I can't remember. He's got the TV, the vehicles. I think he even had a helicopter. And so, yeah, this dude is something else. And we have to really pray that he's okay. We also have Charles Patterson, and Charles Patterson was the first African American. I think he's the first and only black owned car company. And of course, his was what is this year? I don't think I can see the year, but this man was in competition with Ford during that same time frame, and of course he wasn't able to keep up with Henry Ford, but he was also these inventing these cars, and I just thought he was the coolest guy. Just imagine if we had been able to continue doing that. And then we have Oliver Headley, and Oliver Headley is from Barbados, and he is a solar um, scientist. He is the one who created a solar energy grid that supported several countries, several Caribbean islands, and he won awards for his pioneering work in solar energy, and so these are a lot of times we don't think of even African people involved in solar power, but that's Mr. Headley. And so the kids are going to, like I said, create a AI visual. They're going to have to show what these people did, who they are, typical stuff of when they were born and whatever, but also explain the impact of their inventions on our community, and then also see how they can continue to extend that knowledge. And because we're under such a threat with the removal of our books, the firing of our folks from these government jobs, and the way that the economy is being affected, we're going to have to go back to a space of innovation, but also of ownership, and also of dependency, independence, because we cannot depend on these people. We have to, yeah, help our children understand how to navigate that. And so now our students are able to see how our creativity, our innovation, our intelligence was not attributed to our proximity to Europeans, but it also was not impeded by our proximity to Europeans. Instead, our brilliance continued in spite of the harshness, the violence, in spite of colonialism and enslavement and segregation against our communities. And so these are just a few of these incredible people who accomplished this. And like I said, this list is by no means, I mean, let me just mention that this is by no means limited. I mean, the vastness of innovation. Um, I'm sure some of you all saw this meme with Trump saying all these things that America invented, and every one of the inventions he was talking about was invented by somebody who was black. It was hilarious. I don't know whether somebody that was AI generated, but it was hilarious because we have done so much that has not been acknowledged. And so our kids just have to see it. And so then the next, because it dismantles the lies that Africans have made no contribution to science. And so the next category focused on revolutionaries. And I think that that's very critical to know at this time as well. And so this one, this category is limited to just a few categories because I can't go through all of those either, but who have actively engaged in fights for our freedom. And, we have, for example, Amenorhanes, who was an Kandaki queen from Ethiopia. And we know she was not playing. Let's see, Kandaki, I don't know if I pulled her. Let's see. Amenorhanes. Oh, yeah, there she is. This is Amenorhanes, and she fought against the Romans in 10 BC and was successfully, able to hold them off, right? But then you also had, what's his name, Ramses the Third, who also had to defeat Sea people in 1178 BC at the Battle of Jahai. So, and these Sea people, we believe it must have been the Greeks and the Romans trying to come over across the Mediterranean, maybe the Turks. I'm not sure when they said Sea people who that group was, but we know they were Europeans. Who else was coming across the water? And Egypt is right there on the Mediterranean Sea, pouring out. The Nile pours out into the Mediterranean Sea. So we know that it was probably them coming over to steal stuff. But we have a legacy of fighting these folks and stopping them from invading our lands. And so we start with the elders. And so then we move to Yasantawa. And a lot of people may not know, folks who probably are in my orbit do know about Yasantawa and how she fought the British too. The British came to Ghana and they decided that they wanted to take control of this area, and one of the things that they realized was necessary was for them to gain control of um the golden stool. And the Ashanti people said, no, you're not sitting on our golden stool, because that, we believe, has been sent to us by the creator, and only the king can sit on that. So, the British were like, oh, yeah, well, I'm going to sit on that stool so I can make sure that I can rule you. And so while the men were talking about, well, let me see what we're going to do about that, y'all, Santos said, no, we ain't giving up. No, they're not sitting on it. So she and the women gathered and they said, we the women will fight, and we will we will fight to our death before we let the British have access to these golden stools. And so what did she do? She fought. They had a battle. And of course, she was eventually caught and exiled by the British, but she gave them a nice long battle. And today she is celebrated with a statue of her image in Ghana. Schools are named after her and all kinds of, and then even here in the States, there are a lot of organizations that are na- named in honor of Yah Santua. And I know some folks who are named Yah Santua in her honor. And then, so the next person that I was wanted to talk about, that our kids are going to talk about, is Shaka Zulu. And while Shaka Zulu is a controversial figure, um, because he kind of lost his mind. He lost his way. He went crazy. Anyway, but he was a child he was an illegitimate child of a king. The Zulu people were not a large tribe, and they were not a well known tribe, or they just weren't a powerful tribe. So they were just, what people would say, oh yeah, it's just, some Zulus. But he was so mistreated by his father's family and disregarded. And so he had to become a protector for his mother, Nandi. And they were eventually exiled, kicked out of the kingdom, because they're like, you will never be a king. And he uh, decided, okay, he left, but he made friends with someone who, what was the man's name? Hold on, I got it over here. Da, 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 da. Oh, I thought I did. What was his name? He was a child of Sin Zang Kana, and his military. Okay, but what happened is, I don't have the guy, but the guy, one of the guys, was committed to him. He saw who he was, and he appreciated his determination um and his prowess, and his confidence in himself. And so he began to a mentor, Shaka Zulu. And he realized, okay, this guy has some serious skills, and they started introducing those skills. And I think one of them was a change in the length of the size of the shield, and then also the length of the spear. So the spear was either shortened, and the shield was lengthened. I can't remember, or vice versa. But anyway, those tactics and his leadership, and and forcing these men to run and be in top fitness, amazing shape. Uh, Made him a terror to the British, and he did defeat them several times. The only reason he was defeated is because like I said, that brain stopped working really well, and he started doing all kinds of insane things, persecuting his own people, impaling folks, and across, and his brothers were like, "Look, we got to get rid of him," and so they had him. They eventually assassinated him. But even though he lost his way, he is still held as this great leader who fought the British, and he had amazing military strategist. He was an amazing strategist, and so he is still celebrated to this day. And so that's what my students were talking about with him. Now, I also have this picture of Peter Salem. Now, Peter Salem, the reason why I did these two guys, I picked a guy, Peter Salem, who was part of the Revolutionary War, who fought for the Americans during the Revolutionary War, and I also picked a guy, Colonel Ty, who was uh, Colonel Titus, who was fought for the British, and just to show how Africans were, you know, for the most part, just trying to find a way to get free. And a lot of the Africans who fought for the British fought because, hey, you gonna free me? We good. Let's go. And they joined the Ethiopian regiment, and that Ethiopian regiment was provided money. They were given, they were allowed to engage in through their own regimen in different battles against the colonists, and they were more black people were on the British fought for the British than those who fought for the colony. And I think it was like 7,000 in American that black people who fought for the Americans, and it was like 11, 15,000, something like that, who fought for the British. So Peter Salem was born October 1st, 1750, my grandson's birthday, in Massachusetts, and this is a picture of him. And he was actually freed so that he could fight for the Continental Army. And he fought in many battles, and he was held as uh, he became a celebrity for killing one of the um, British generals at Bunker Hill. Now, and but and he fought, and I think he fought like for how many years? Let's see, from 1775 to 1780. So from 17, and he was only 25 years old. 1775 to 1780, he fought in the wars. But he went on, got married, spent the rest of his life as a farmer, gardener, and furniture repairman. I think he got some benefits for fighting in the war, but he died impoverished. But the white community, the white women up there in Massachusetts, it took his home and turned it into a historical monument in 1909. Now, conversely, we got Colonel Tyee. Tyee is a mess. I don't know, where did I get Tyee? Oh, let me see. Colonel Tyee. Uh-oh. Tyee was not added in. Uh-oh. Okay, I gotta look at my photos. Oh, there he is. All right. So this is Colonel Tyee. And Tyee fought for the British. And unlike Peter Salem, he said, I'm escaping. He was, believe it or not, enslaved by a Quaker who did not follow the Quakers. So Quakers who owned Africans were supposed to teach them how to read and write, not beat anybody, and mistreat them. None of that, and release them at the age of 21. His dude said, I ain't doing none of that. And so he was eventually kicked out of the Quakers because they're like, you ain't doing nothing we say. So they expelled him. But I think his name was Corlius or something like that. But anyway, so this is up in New Jersey, and Titus was born in 1753 and died in 1780. So what was he, 27 years old or whatever when he died? But this dude said, bump all that. I'm leaving. And he went and joined the Black Loyalists and joined, like I said, the Ethiopian Regiment of the British Army, and was a crazy guerrilla warfare warrior. Guerrilla warrior. These people, they were so scared of him because he was just going from one plantation to the other. He was stealing food, stealing resources, taking prisoners and turning them over to the British, and setting stuff on fire, just tearing things up. And of course, unfortunately, he died from tuberculosis or something like that. But that dude was not playing. And so he's a good example. And then, like I said, you got Peter Salem, who is another example of two soldiers on both sides who were fighting for their freedom. And one was given his freedom specifically for doing the war. I mean, for participating on the colonial side, and the other one freed himself and joined the British, which was a majority. The majority of Africans did that. So my last person is Angela Davis, and wait, what is going on here? All right, Angela Davis, and she's the one revolutionary person who's still here. And the reason why I added her in is because she's not only about the freedom of Africans, but she's also about the freedom of, prison abolition. She's very active in that. But what's crazy is that she was born 1944, and she was born into this community in Birmingham, Alabama, which was called Dynamite Hill. And Dynamite Hill uh, uh, got that name in Birmingham, Alabama, because white KKK members were literally bombing that neighborhood over and over and over again. And that's also, she's also part of the community of the four little black girls who were killed in 1963 in the basement of their church. And this is what these people were doing. And it's so crazy because they say that we are violent. And you're blowing up folks' houses, businesses, churches, and and so Dynamite Hill is insane that they had that nickname for that community. But Angela Davis was, her parents were both teachers, and so they got her involved in this program in the North, where Southern Black children would go and join Northern white children and be educated together. And it was very socialist, progressive, communist kind of movement, where they just wanted to find and set another example of how integration could happen between these two communities. And so she also got a chance to study over abroad, and I think she went to Brandeis College, and then she also got her PhD overseas and came back to teach at the university. Where was it? Berkeley? I'm trying to think. University of California in the philosophy department. And so she was already radicalized by movements in Europe. And so when she came back, and then, her exposure to folks here in the States, but she became very attached to this. She looked at the Black Panthers, and she looked at some of the other organizations, but she decided she was going to stay with the Communist Party, because in the Communist Party they didn't have, one of the things that Black Panther Party was, what was problematic at that time. It was the same thing Asada Shakur said about them, was that they wanted to adhere to these traditional male female roles, and that's the reason why Asada Shakur ended up. I don't want to do all that, and Angela Davis was the same way. We don't. Let's operate as equals and not this gender identity, gender role where you have to do. Women are submissive to men. She didn't want to participate in that. But she did, under the communist movement, she was able to get involved with false imprisonment of the Soledad brothers, and she became a target. So Ronald Nimwit Reagan, wanted her to get fired. He didn't want her to working at the university, and I think even Nixon was nasty, talking about, when she was accused of purchasing a gun that was used in a kidnapping at a courthouse by two Black men who wanted the release of the Soledad brothers. Now, turns out she had bought the gun, but in California, if you're the owner of the gun, it doesn't matter whether you participated in a crime, you're going to be convicted of that crime. And so those boys ended up, the boys who kidnapped the jury ended up killing four people at that courthouse. And so Angela Davis tried to escape, but she was eventually caught, and she was in prison for 18 months. And so she said during that time, that's when she really became even more engaged in abolitionism. And she eventually got out, but she had to fight for her life. There was corruption in this so-called judicial system. The injustice of the so-called justice system just completely undermined her confidence in America completely. And so she is still here today. She is still here fighting for the rights of folks who are in this prison system. And those are the folks, that's the first two categories that my young people, ages 4 and no 5, no, the youngest is 4 through 15, will do presentations on. they're gonna really know their stuff. And so, hey, we over here raising up a nation. And next week I'll talk to you about the other folks we're going to be presenting. And so, Ashe, be blessed.
If you're talking, they will hear you.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. And we tell them with honest conversations that let them know what we expect. Not just one time, but every chance we get. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. Kids not only need to know the dangers and how to avoid them, they need to hear it often from you. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be taken without a prescription and never shared with friends or family. It's dangerous and illegal. So talk with your kids and guide them through the challenges of growing up safe and healthy. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
So talk, they hear you. You can do it if you try.
I'm a St. Cia student. Of course I walk into the sound of drums.
I'm a St. Cia student. Of course I know my mother.
I'm a St. Cia student. Of course I can play the drum.
I'm a St. Cia student. Of course I can work with my hands.
I'm a St. Cia student.